Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee with Craig, where we talk about all things firearms policy, politics, culture, media, you name it. We're talking about it right here on Coffee with Craig. So please take a moment, like and share the program so that your friends can join in the conversation. Also, if you haven't already done so, please remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, and in both cases, make sure you hit the notification button so that you can get the alerts as soon as we go live and participate in the live chat as the video is happening. Also, if you haven't done so this week, and I always tell you, got to go back every week because there's always new designs. That's right. I'm talking about fpcgear.com. It's fpcgear.com. It is the place to go to get your Pro 2A swag. We're talking t-shirts, coffee mugs, hoodies, you name it, stickers. We've got it there at fpcgear.com. And the best part is, every dollar that you spend goes right back into the fight for a right to keep and bear arms, so you can support the Second Amendment and you can look good doing it. That's fpcgear.com. All right. We all know we are hot and heavy in the middle of the presidential election season. And we all know that the Democratic Party is full of a whole slate of candidates who want to violate our constitutional right to keep and bear arms. They don't care. They just want to take away your right to be able to defend yourself. So what I wanted to do, and we've already kind of done this with at least one presidential candidate, and I'm thinking I'm going to go through every once in a while, and I'm going to talk a little bit about other presidential candidates and give you an idea of exactly what their ideas are for quote unquote addressing gun violence. And I use the quotes because I want you to understand that's not my term. All right, it's not a term I believe in. I don't believe that guns commit violence. I believe that individuals desiring to commit violence may or may not wind up using a firearm, and that's in fact what it is that they're looking at. Well, really what they're trying to do is they're trying to disarm us. They're trying to take away all of our firearms, but I digress. Anyway, so I wanted to get in and talk a little bit about Elizabeth Warren. And Elizabeth Warren is particularly scary because she's a sitting senator. So the ideas that she has, the things that she wants to do in order to violate your fundamental rights, well, let's just be honest, she can already introduce these ideas as a senator. So it's vitally important that we do something, anything, that we do something and we speak up and recognize exactly, that we recognize what it is that she wants to do and why there are problems with the things that she wants to do. So let's start with idea number one. Now, the initial ideas are a lot like what everyone else has already been talking about, right? We're talking about things like an assault weapons ban, right? We're talking about restart the federal assault weapons ban. That's something that is on the top of her list. We all know, first of all, what's wrong with that assault weapons ban. In fact, the assault weapons ban, quite frankly, never did really work, did it? We all know that it was all kind of, how shall we say, it was a feel-good proposal. That really did absolutely nothing to reduce the amount of violence that took place in our communities. A lot of people want to say, well, we saw violent crimes go down and gun violence go down. But the interesting thing was we also saw the number of firearms owned go up. In fact, studies have already been done to determine that there really wasn't any reduction in violence that can be tied to the fake assault weapons ban. So that was the first thing. That's one thing that she wants to promote, one thing that she's pushing for that, we all know didn't really help. The next thing that she wants to do is she wants to mandate universal background checks. Now, once again, this is nothing new. All right, this is nothing that anyone else hasn't proposed. But once again, we all know studies have already determined that, at least as done here in the state of California, that guess what? It really hasn't had any effect on gun violence or gun crime. Does not keep guns out of the hands of criminals. Because guess what? Criminals don't go to the gun store or go to a gun show here in California, where you still get a background check, but it doesn't do anything. It doesn't keep guns because that's not where they go to get their firearms. In fact, they basically acquire them illegally because that's why they're criminals. Anyway, but that's proposal number 2. Proposal number 3, raising the minimum age to purchase guns to 21. Now, we all know, once again, this is an idea that it's already illegal to purchase a handgun if you're under the age of 21, which, once again, I have no idea why that is in fact the case. But once again, you're talking about taking away the constitutional rights, the civil rights of adults, grown adults, who are under the age of 21. These are people who, well, let's just be honest. They've done nothing wrong. Their decisions that they make are they're responsible for the decisions they make, both criminally and civilly. Right? So in every other way, they're adults, except when it comes to a right to be able to defend themselves. In fact, we can hand them a rifle. We can send them halfway across the country and hand them a rifle and tell them, defend our interests abroad, but you dare not defend your home with that very same firearm. So we all know that's a bad idea. All right. Proposal number 4, establishing red flag laws. Once again, this is something that a lot of folks are talking about. They don't just want to promote states, or at least in her case, you have some people who want to actually give grants to states to actually institute red flag laws. She wants to institute federal red flag laws, meaning, basically allow people to go to federal court and get these red flag laws. And once again, you guys all know what those are. These are ideas where basically an individual who you may or may not know can go to a judge, get you deemed to be a danger to yourself or others, and have your right to own or possess firearms taken away, have the police sent to your home, basically have you swatted, and have your rights taken away. Now, once again, these hearings are ex parte, which means you don't know about them and you don't get to be there. So you lose your rights. You never get a chance to face your accuser. And then when you do eventually get your day in court, well, hey, you're now guilty until proven innocent. You're not told how you prove yourself innocent. You have to get your own lawyer and pay tens of thousands of dollars, not just to get your rights back, but then there's no guarantee that you even get your guns back. California, it's already been deemed 60% of the people who've been the victim of red flag laws, who never should have had their rights taken away, 60% of them never get their guns back. It's the state of California. That's what happens with the red flag laws. That's what Pocahontas wants to do. Okay, moving right along. Proposal number 5, hold both gun dealers and manufacturers accountable for the violence promoted by their products. Now, this is really broad and vague, right? But this is a direct quote. Now, there are a number of things that are going to be tied to this. One of them has to do with removing the ability or removing the protection that currently exists for firearms and firearm manufacturers when it comes to being sued when someone uses their products, right? So in other words, if someone decides they're going to rob somebody, they buy Smith & Wesson, they go rob somebody, they shoot somebody, they want the person who got shot to be able to sue Smith & Wesson. Why? Because guns. That's what they want, right? They don't. It doesn't matter whether or not that was what it was actually intended for. That would be like if someone went out drinking at a bar, got into a Cadillac, and went driving and hit somebody. That would be like the person who got hit being able to sue the maker of the Cadillac or the person who sold the Cadillac. Now, the other thing that she wants to do is she wants to increase the ability, or basically shut down gun dealers. Right? That's another thing that's slated as a part of this. In other words, if you make a paperwork error, bam, shut you down. Because here's the thing that they realize. They realize that if they make it too onerous to be a firearms retailer, then you'll have fewer firearms retailers. If you can't buy a gun, well, then how are you going to exercise your right to own a gun? How can you own one if you can't buy one? How are you going to go shooting if you can't buy ammunition? See, they're going out of their way to make it so that, yeah, okay, you may have a constitutional right to own a gun, but you don't have a right to buy one. And you definitely don't have a right to be able to sell one. And so this is a broad sweeping thing that a lot of Democrats are starting to use. And you're seeing a lot of this in local state legislators and in local communities where they're literally trying to regulate and legislate gun dealers or firearms retailers out of business, making it so that they can't stay in business. That way, you can't exercise your fundamental right to keep and bear arms. So that's why I wanted to make sure to point this particular one out. The other proposal, number 6, raising the Pittman-Robertson Act excise tax to 30% on guns and 50% on ammunition. Now, you guys already know what this is. This is money that's supposed to go to help take care of, for conservation. Now, mind you, if you don't hunt, then this money really, other than, providing conservation, if that's what you believe in, it really doesn't help you. If you're a hunter, then it's supposed to go to help take care of the lands that you are, that you're hunting in. Now, mind you, a lot of this money, I understand, and once again, I probably need to do a little bit more research to provide some factual information on this, but I've been told by people that, well, some of that money is actually being used to help buy up land that is never going to be able to be used for hunting. Now, I don't know if that's the case. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying that's what I've heard from folks. And to be honest, knowing our government and their use of tax dollars, that really wouldn't surprise me. But that aside, this is a modern day poll tax, folks. Think about it, 30% on guns. So if you're low income and you can barely afford a firearm and you want to buy a decent firearm, right? You go and you spend, $500 on a decent firearm, right? Some of you may say $500. That's not enough for a decent. So you spend $500 on a decent firearm. Then you're going to have to spend another $150 on the excise tax alone. $150 on top of all the other fees and taxes, because you have a lot of states are trying to pass local taxes on firearms. I mean, all of this. And once again, this is a modern day poll tax. Oh, and then if you want to go actually practice and become proficient with your firearm, you're going to have to pay for every, $100 you spend on ammo. 50 of it's going to be on a tax, on an excise tax. So in other words, if you're poor, you don't have a right to keep and bear arms. That's their attitude. So obviously this is bad juju, bad idea. Proposal number 7, instituting mandatory 1-week waiting period for all firearm purchases. Now, a group that we do some work with, the Cal Guns Foundation, actually had a lawsuit relating to waiting periods in the state of California. And they actually had people from the California Department of Justice give testimony that an overwhelming majority, I'm going to say 70 to 80% of background checks are done within 5 minutes, right? So the rest of the time is literally just a quote unquote cooling off period. Well, the thing that's really stupid about this is that they want to do a cooling off or a waiting period even if you already own firearms. Think about that. They want to do it even if you own firearms. Like in the state of California, we have a 10-day waiting period, right? Even if I have a concealed carry permit, I can walk into a gun store with a gun on my hip, with a gun on me, go to buy a gun, and I can't leave with that gun because they're afraid I need a cooling off period. I'm like, I'm carrying a gun. If I really wanted to do something to somebody, I don't need to go buy another gun to do it. I've already got a gun on me. Once again, very stupid idea. But once again, this is something that's kind of unique, in particular, to Senator Warren. Then we got proposal number 8, capping gun purchases by individuals to 1 per month. This is rationing of rights. It's like saying you can only rent 1 book from the library a month. You can only write 1 email to your legislator per month. You can only attend church once a week. That's exactly what this is. It is the rationing of a right. And they always use these examples. It's the oddest thing. They always say, well, one guy went and he bought 100 AR lowers at one time. I'm like, and? But it's funny, though. They use the extreme. They don't say, well, what about the guy who's maybe just going to buy a collection? So maybe he's buying 3 or 4 firearms at a time. At this one time. Right? What does that matter? Why am I only going to be allowed to be able to purchase 1 firearm a month? Right? They already have that right now in the state of California for handguns, and they're now doing the same thing, trying to expand it to include long guns. And once again, it makes absolutely no sense. It is the rationing of a fundamental civil right that makes absolutely no sense. None. Absolutely none. So that's Elizabeth Warren. Those are kind of some of the fundamental things that Elizabeth Warren wants to do, how she wants to ration our rights, how she wants to take away our fundamental right to keep and bear arms. Folks, the saddest part is that she's not even the worst of them. There are more. There are more of these folks that have radical ideas. And, this is the thing. And I get some of you out there who are watching this right now, you guys are Democrats. I completely get it. You're freedom-loving Democrats. I get it. But your party, the mainstream of your party, is now leaning, at least the politicians anyway, are now leading towards this lady right here. They're leaning towards the ideas that she has. Folks, it's time y'all step up. It's time y'all talk to these folks. Talk to your nominees. Talk to these folks and let them know. Look, if you're a Democrat and you're a freedom-loving Democrat, you need to tell these socialists it's time to go. Just saying. Because you know how disarming goes in other socialized countries, right? First they take your guns, then they take your property, and if you don't like it, then they take your freedom and or your life. And that's the way it's going to go down in Elizabeth Warren's America, should she become president. So I'm pretty sure that would be a no vote for Elizabeth Warren. Anyway, folks, hey, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate you guys liking and sharing the program, telling your friends about the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the home in the fight for civil rights. Got to use them or you're going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.